See, I'm doing good today. It's a great New Year's Eve. A wonderful way to end this season. You know, we win today. The Bears get back-to-back first overall picks. I'm living life. I'm good.
Let's be hold on. But I will say this: we have the Arizona Cardinals to thank for that, not the Jacksonville Jaguars. Believe it or not, Arizona won their game before Carolina lost. Although,
No, Jacksonville won first and then Arizona
oh,
won.
they didn't. Jacksonville was blowing them out. I was more concerned with Arizona because Arizona was the one that was, you
But
know,
I think if Jacksonville had still beaten the Panthers, we still secure even if the Cardinals were to lose today.
no, 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 no. We would have. I don't believe that. I
No,
thought it
they,
was
they were
different.
saying they were saying that.
They were actually saying that even if
Yeah, they said if the Panthers just lose one more game, the car despite what the Cardinals do, because the Cardinals have a better strength of schedule than the Panthers do.
ah,
Panthers lock up the first pick essentially, but
well, I'm happy
yeah.
because I'm actually back in my fantasy football championship again.
Good.
Man,
I'm over here consolidating for a third place. I should have went to the championship, but I didn't count Brees Hall dropping 43 points last week.
yeah, it was. I did something really stupid, man. When Amari Cooper got hurt, I put in one of his backups that only got one catch on four targets, and I don't know why the hell I put him in, and I didn't put Justice Hill in, and Justice Hill got me 20 points on the bench. But you know what they say, man. Fantasy football, she's a heartless bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, we kind of have a loaded show today. A lot of talking points. The Justin Fields talk. I guess obviously we can talk about the game, the fact the Bears have the first pick. What do the Bears do with the first pick? And obviously, it came out late last night now. Funny enough, I did record a video. I just never uploaded to YouTube. Whatever. I guess it's better just to talk about it now. And that was the news that apparently, from what Rat Report reported, apparently it's only rumors, only speculation. It seems like Matt Eberflus is expected back to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears. We'll talk about that. And where we think the team should go if they go that direction, and if we have any disagreements with it. Let's get kind of the minor news out the way. The Bears got the W today against the Atlanta Falcons. It was just a complete W. I think honestly, the only critical thing I would have to say outside of the good stuff was I did not like the fact that we gave up a 75-yard touchdown screen pass to the Atlanta Falcons right after we
Yeah.
scored, which somewhat got the Falcons back in the game. I understand that was man coverage and whatever. People got to get off their blocks, make a tackle, make a play. That should not happen. And
Yeah,
then,
I blame Edmund. Edmonds on that one.
yeah,
Uh, he was the first one that was caught in coverage, but instead of attacking the blocker that was in front of him, he's just started backing up.
yeah.
He just started backing up. I'm assuming he knew that there wasn't much behind him, so I'm assuming he backed up just so maybe the other defenders had more time to get on top of the play. But it turns out from where I was sitting, that just wasn't the good thing to do. Attack the block and then come off the block and try to make the tackle. But it didn't work out that way. It just seemed like it was a broken defensive play. The two touchdowns the Falcons scored, they were basically on broken plays from where I sat.
Yeah.
Granted, the Falcons did call a screen and they executed the screen, but the Bears just defense was just totally out of position. And then the touchdown by Heineke late in the fourth quarter.
No contain.
Um, yeah, no contain whatsoever. I mean, the field conditions was not good for a pass rush. I think if the field conditions was good for a pass rush, the way the Bears was getting into the backfield, we could have sacked Heineke 10 times.
Yeah.
I honestly feel that way.
Yeah.
So, but we did get the win, and it was a good win. I mean, we started 0-4, And right now, in our last 12, we're 7-5. I don't know what too much to make of that. We're going to talk about that a little bit more as we get it on with the big news of the day. But
Yeah.
a win is a win is a win.
Yep, we'll take it.
Take this, pile it in with the rest, and you know what, we get back at it tomorrow, and we got a rivalry game coming up, so let's take all this momentum, shift it towards Green Bay, and let's go ahead and get that W.
Yep. Yeah. Only other thing, I didn't like Luke Getsy's play calling at some points in this game again, but we're not going to talk about that. We've already talked about that enough this year, so I'm not going to do that. And then I think the only last thing I'm going to talk about that it really did irk me was when Matt Eberflus at the end of the first half, one, they weren't aggressive enough to go at least put themselves in better field goal range to kick a field goal into the freaking win. We'll talk about this in the Matt Eberflus segment, but this goes to show it was one of his many blundering moments of not having the awareness as the head coach. Me and my dad were watching the game up in my room for a quick example. For my dad left to go take care of what he needed to go take care of. I was literally saying we probably should just go get the first down, or if anything, just don't kick the field goal. Just go for a Hail Mary or something. I don't know. And my dad was like, just take the field goal. I'm like, Dad, it's windy out there in Chicago. You're kicking into the wind. You're not going to do that. The Atlanta Falcons kicker, Koo, he was way short on his first field goal attempt. What does Eberflus do? Now, we complained like a few weeks ago how against the Cleveland Browns, how we didn't want to kick a field goal at the end of the first half to freaking just get the 3 points. 55-yard field goal. You're in the same position here. Only difference compared to that game is, in that game, there was seemingly perfect conditions, even though it was still a little bit of a overcast, cloudy, windy game in the Cleveland game. This dude, it's snowing, the wind is blowing pretty hard, and then this guy's like, all right, I didn't kick the field goal against the Browns, which kind of cost me a game. Let's kick the field goal in blistering winds out here in Chicago near the lakefront. And of course, it goes short, and they almost take it back for a touchdown to give them momentum going into halftime. And this is the crap I'm talking about. No situational awareness as the head coach, knowing, all right, what are my chances here? When he should do something, he doesn't do it. And when he doesn't need to do something, he ends up actually doing the opposite direction because of a previous game's impact. Don't tell me that the Cleveland Browns game didn't have him in his head thinking, I probably should kick this field goal. Even though I just saw the Atlanta Falcons kicker miss the field goal short. Kicking into the wind. This is the crap I'm talking about.
Well, the Cleveland Brown thing, I will tell you, I was a little bit perturbed about that as well, too. Because, again, Cairo Santos is now kicking the football like, he's probably one of the, top 3 to 4 kickers in the league at this particular moment right now, the way he's kicking the football. And the reasons why, they didn't choose to use this kicker for a 55-year goal in those conditions in Cleveland, it just really jumped my head. Now, with a kicker like Younghoe Koo, and he missed 2 field goals. He missed 2 field goals.
He doinked the second one.
And then you want to get in this weather and go ahead and try a field goal. I think he was thinking back to Cleveland when he was just like, oh, I should have did it. But now it's like the conditions are much worse. Same situation, but this time you want to kick, especially when you saw one of the best kickers in the league miss 2 under these same conditions. Yeah, sometimes I just don't understand what goes through the mind of Matt Eberflus. I don't know if he just, listens to the talking heads throughout the week and don't make and use that as a springboard to make his decisions on Sundays. But yeah, I gotta admit, I think what I would have done is just Hail Mary it. Just Hail Mary it, and put the ball in a position where it can't be brought back against you. Just Hail Mary it and just be done with it. But he went against the cusp again For whatever reason, I have no idea. I think it's still one of those things, whereas who knows, man, he's probably still doing certain things to, you know, save his job. But I guess, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on.
His defense did do outside of that screen pass and the Taylor Heineke touchdown run. They had a dominant performance.
Yeah.
Did what you did. They had like freaking. I'm looking at. They had freaking 4 turnovers today.
4 turnovers.
Two.
Think
Yeah, 3.
sacks,
Go ahead.
3 sacks. But again, just like I said before, if those field conditions were not the way they were, they could have got this guy 10 times. I mean, they were all in the backfield. It's just the field conditions were such, whereas they couldn't cut back to come get him. Montez Sweat, just, he again, the field conditions. I saw where he made good rushes on the right tackle, but those field conditions were such, whereas he could not cut back. Those field conditions were such where he couldn't cut in. The only thing he can do that you can probably do under these field conditions, which we saw a lot of, was bull rush.
Yeah. Yep. But hey, defense is good. TJ Edwards, he had another interception. If he's not a Pro Bowl this year, if he's not in the Pro Bowl this year, I don't know he needs to be he's a Pro Bowl player. Him and Sweat.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Pro Bowler. I mean, am I interested in the Pro Bowl weekend? No, but at the same time, though, getting that title means something to NFL players. But yeah, TJ Edwards is definitely a Pro Bowler for me.
Yeah, him and Montez Sweat right now are my top 2 guys on defense that would get it.
Yeah.
Offense would probably only be DJ Moore.
Jalen Johnson.
Oh yeah, Jalen Johnson. I would put him there as maybe more likely a replacement.
Right, but at the same time, he's Pro Bowl all the same.
Yeah.
I'd probably say just those 3. And I will say this: he doesn't have the interceptions or anything like that, or sacks or anything like that. But Jaquan Brisker has played some really good football.
He's played better football as of late.
Yes, he's played some really good football over the past 5 or 6 games.
Yeah.
And I think one of those games he had 17 tackles?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's played some really good football. I mean, and the Bears overall have done really well the last 12 games. I think I mentioned 7-5. And the problem with those 5 is 3 of those 5, I mean, they went up in the 4th quarter with a lead. I think all 3 of them were double digits and they wound up losing. So it's just, all of our problems still reflect the decisions that Matt Eberflus has made. Now, we keep saying we're going to go back into, we're going to get into it. But at the same time, the Bears, 7-5 over the last 12, and something has to be said about that.
Yeah.
And we could be better, things could be worse,
Yep.
Yeah. But moving forward, they got a lot of decisions that they have to make.
Yeah.
A lot of decisions. And, these decisions right now moving forward is going to dictate the future of Ryan Poles.
Yep. I don't envy being him right now.
No, neither do I. He has a lot of decisions he has to make. 1, he has to decide on his coaching staff. 2, he has to decide on Justin Fields.
Yep.
And then 3, and we were going back and forth about it in
what you do with the first pick.
What you do with that first pick. I mean, he's got a lot of decisions he's got to make. And or even better yet, what do you do with those 2 first rounders you got? Because obviously both of them are going to be top 10 picks.
Let me look on the website where their where their other pick is at right now.
I think the second one, the last I looked, they were talking somewhere about 8 or 9.
They're at 10 right now.
They're at 10 right now.
Yes.
And I think that's because they're winning.
Yep. Yeah, the teams that have the same record as the Atlanta Falcons and the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, Green Bay,
we beat both of them. So, they're going to be ahead of us.
Yes. Now, if Denver also loses, they will also be 7-9. They're 7-8 right now playing the Chargers. And then Minnesota and Green Bay are both 7-8. So one of those teams are going to lose tonight, which would make them 7-9.
Correct. And then we got Green Bay next week.
Yep. So to be honest, the Bears' second pick can be the highest they can get is maybe I don't know who Atlanta's facing next week, but it's probably either it's gonna be in the range of like 9 to like 14.
Correct. Now, again, this is the same place we picked up Justin Fields. Now, granted, I don't think there's any quarterback that's around that we're going to be able to get. I mean, do I expect Caleb Williams to drop to 14? No. Do I expect Drake May to drop to 14? Maybe.
Daniels probably would be there. Michael Penix would probably be there.
Maybe. Are they coming out?
Yeah. They're both seniors.
Oh, okay. Well,
Penix has been in college football for like 6 years now. He's coming out this year.
I like Penix. I'm not even going to tell a tale about that. Would I draft him? Probably not, because I think we have more pressing needs.
Yeah.
With especially if we keep Justin Fields.
Going on to Justin Fields. I thought Justin Fields had a pretty damn good day today. He was 20 of 32 for 268 yards passing, 1 TD. He also had 1 rushing TD. His rushing sets were 11 carries for 45 yards. The Falcons, they clearly kept this guy in the pocket. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter what they did. Like, Fields couldn't even get the edge on these guys because these guys were like, if it wasn't the end, they had one of the linebackers legitimately right there spying him. But Fields beat the team with his arm, and mostly he just went to DJ Moore, and DJ Moore just absolutely cooked this Falcons secondary.
Keep in mind also, and again, I've already mentioned a couple of times, the field conditions were such whereas you couldn't get a really good pass rush. The field conditions were such whereas it increased Justin Fields' ability to escape. The field conditions were such whereas defenders, it was really difficult for AJ Terrell to get really good footing. And he's one of the better cornerbacks in the league. So I'm not making any excuses or anything like that. It's just the field conditions really benefited the Bears today. I still couldn't understand for the life of me how DJ Moore kept getting open.
Yeah. He was wide open too.
He was cooking them. I mean, he was flat out cooking. And I mean, we're talking cats and man coverage too. It's just they weren't, loading up in the zone like the Bears were, which I think was smart with a quarterback like Heineke. But I mean, DJ Moore was all over the place. I mean, but at the same time, this is where I will give Getsy some kind of credit. He moved more around a lot. He had him in the right slot. He had him on the ends, but at the same time, he mostly had him in the slot because I'm pretty sure the scouting report on the Falcons were such that that's where the Falcons have their issues. But slot.
It also kind of help. I'll say this also kind of helps that Darnell Mooney was inactive today. Maybe that's why.
That's true too. And Tyler Scott had a great game. Robert Tonyan. I mean,
Tyler Scott had a great game.
Well,
come on now.
He had a great game from the sense that he was getting open.
All right.
And he had like 2 or 3 drops. Okay, he had 2 or 3 drops. But from the standpoint that he was getting open.
I'll give him that. I'll give you that.
Great game because Fields was on the money with his throws.
Oh, yeah. Well, it said the one Tyler Scott throw where he overthrew him.
Well, yeah, that's true. But, Fields is making some really good throws from the pocket.
Yeah. These are one of the games that, hey, fans asked for. Beat a team from the pocket. Throw over 250 yards passing. Well, all right.
He did that today. I would like to see him do it.
Do it more consistently, yeah.
Consistently, yes. And then that way, take advantage of the fact that you got QB spies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they did that today.
Yeah.
The Falcons had no choice. Is either spy Fields and take the chance on receivers being open, or don't spy Fields and take the chance on Fields running all over the place.
Yep.
They chose to go with, hey, let's see if this guy can make the throws. And,
He made the throws.
he made the throws. Granted, it didn't result in really great, touchdown numbers. He only threw one, and I think he ran for another.
He easily could have had 3 TDs if his receivers just caught the ball.
Well, honestly, believe it or not, with the way Lamar Jackson looked today, Fields could have had 4 or 5 touchdowns.
Oh yeah.
He could have had it too.
Yeah.
It was just, I'm sometimes sometimes I wonder if it's Getsy or if it's Fields or if a combination of both. They're just not seeing eye to eye. And
Those just not players just stepping up. His teammates not stepping up doing their jobs.
that's true too. Case in point, Tyler Scott.
He had a touchdown, dropped it.
He had a touchdown, he dropped it.
DJ Moore late, even though the game was already away, DJ Moore, he could have got 2 hands on that ball instead of trying to get a one-handed catch. I thought he could have stretched out 2 hands and caught that.
Believe it or not, the Roshan screen in the first quarter, when he checked down, Roshan almost ran for a touchdown.
Yeah.
I think they down to about the 2 or 3 yard line.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Fields, I thought he had a good game today. Obviously, the fans loved it. The play, they were chanting his freaking name inside the stadium. So again, Ryan Poles is a very tough decision to make right then and there. And if Fields has another good game against the Green Bay Packers next week, well, then you're going into definitely uncertainty. I think obviously the highlight play today was when he got out of like dang near 2 tackles. He looked like he was going to get sacked. He got out of it.
And he just spent right out of it and then ran up running for a first down on 3rd and long.
Yeah. I was like, oh, here we go. And then
even the announcers were speculating as to his future too.
Yeah.
They kept doing it the entire game. Well,
they've been doing it the last few weeks, to be honest.
This particular game specifically, Jason McCourty, he brought it up quite a bit that Fields is auditioning for his next team. And he
and you see, obviously the first pick plays a role in that, but obviously that's kind of the blame to that kind of goes under the regular Chicago media. That just goes from that's their fault that they even put this narrative out there that Fields can be gone and everything and get him up out of town. I'm like, the guy's still under contract at least for 1 more year if you don't pick up his 5th-year option. So it's like it's absolutely baffling that in some cases, I understand we had the first pick, and when you contribute it back to Trubisky, we gave that guy 4 years. You're telling me, even though we had the first pick, you can't give Fields a 4th year? And even I've thrown out this idea. What if I know it sounds stupid, but what if the Bears do keep Fields and it doesn't matter what quarterback in this upcoming draft they draft? They just take a quarterback and they have that quarterback sit behind him. If Fields has a bad following 4th year, you move off on him. The young guy, he sat on the bench for a full year. Hopefully he takes a step in the right direction.
Yeah. I say that's possible too. You also talked about trading down. I said the risky part about trading down is exactly just that. We don't know what we're gonna, what Fields, basically right now is on a 1-year deal.
Yep.
After this season, 1 year. I mean, and trading back and getting future picks, especially when you got a quarterback that you really just don't know what to do with yet. It's pretty risky. So again, that's where you have that dichotomy of, do you draft guys right now that can help you right now, or do you trade back and, stockpile picks for, future use? So again, don't envy Ryan Poles, but it's his job. He's going to have to make those decisions. Yep. And I think the first decision he's going to have to make is what to do with his coaching staff.
Yeah. One last thing before we talk about the first pick stuff. Rushing attack, Herbert, he had 18 carries for 124 yards. Falcons couldn't stop him. The only issue I have is they inactivated or they had Deontay Foreman inactive, and I think like yesterday he ended up tweeting, and I actually have this tweet saying where he said it. He said, "Ain't no love in this, you know what, the S word. You gotta know that." Um, and then obviously this morning it came out he was inactive. So clearly that tweet he made last night was in reference to him being inactive, which I guess that means he's more than likely gone because why would he come back if a team's just going to continuously inactivate him for, even though Herbert played good and Roshan I thought played good, you can make the argument that Foreman, when he got the opportunity, he was the number one back for this team. And to be honest, I felt like the Bears played a little bit of politics um, with the guys that they prefer over a guy that, for all intents and purposes, this year he worked his tail off, and I think he earned another year. But he's probably not coming back now if he's tweeting that, and you're gonna just keep inactivating him. So,
Well, again, Khalil Herbert was the clear number one coming into this football season. Clear number one. There was not another guy, Roshan Johnson, Deontay Foreman. None of those guys was going to eclipse Khalil Herbert. When Herbert got hurt, however, was when there was a little uncertainty from a lot of people in Chicago as it relates to Deontay Foreman because he filled in pretty well. But Khalil Herbert came back and he planted himself as, the number one. And it just didn't seem like Foreman like that. From where I sit anyway. Yeah. I don't know what goes in. I mean, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but maybe they promised Foreman more carries. Maybe they promised him, to start and not even when Herbert comes back. Who knows? We don't know.
I just think it's pretty obvious because even in the first few weeks they deactivated him to not even be active. I think it's clear that the coaching staff preferred the tandem of Herbert and Roshan Johnson. Nothing wrong with that, but it's like you're telling me just from the eye test alone, you're saying Foreman was a really damn good, but you couldn't activate him and get him touches too?
Well, I mean, again, just like I said before, I mean, Herbert was the clear number one.
Yeah.
And look at what Herbert has done over the past, 2-3 weeks?
I'd probably say all right last week. He didn't really flash to me.
Well, but at the same time, though, I mean, against Cleveland, but Cleveland has a good defense. I mean, but the game before that, he ran for 142? And then today, what was it, 124?
Yep.
I mean, Herbert has proven himself as the number one back. Now, if Foreman's got a problem with that, then I don't know what to tell you. Be happy for your teammate, so.
Well, let's get into this first pick stuff. So the Bears have the first pick right now and that's confirmed a lock with obviously the Arizona Cardinals losing, but mostly because the Panthers lost today against the Jaguars.
Well, Arizona Cardinals winning.
Oh yeah, winning, my bad. Thank God the Jaguars without Trevor Lawrence, CJ Beathard, he had a good game today. That was the other game on my screen that I was watching. And first, there was just they were only scoring field goals and everything. And then next thing you know, Travis Etienne erupts for a big rushing touchdown, and that kind of what blew the doors open. Carolina tried to do their little fake comebacks or whatever they always try to do, but I think DJ Chark dropped a wide open pass that would have put them on the goal line, and then the next stop, they get a fourth down stop. The Jaguars.
Yeah, it didn't help that they went over 4 on fourth downs.
No, they actually picked up a 4th and 12.
Whoa. Okay. Let's just say 1 for 3, 1 for 4 on fourth downs. And just when you go for it on fourth downs, it's a crapshoot, but it can really bring the rest of the team down when you just don't make them. And they just missed too many of them. 3? I think they missed 3 fourth down situations. Now, granted, they had to because they just couldn't score any points.
And plus, they're trying to win so that the Bears don't get the first pick.
Hey,
it's just absolutely funny that Panther fans were talking all this crap and everything. And guess what now? They traded everything away. They're still the worst team in the NFL by far this year, and they gifted
yeah,
us a free first round pick. If not free, not a free first round pick, the first overall pick again.
yeah.
Hey, if they want to do business again, hey, that's fine. That's fine. We'll take Brian
Oh,
Burns.
I can definitely tell you. Pose Carroll calls Carolina again. They gonna
They
hang
ain't,
up.
they ain't doing nothing.
They gonna hang up on his ass. You know, they for sure just be like, no, dog.
Yep.
You know, fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Shame on me. Yeah,
So
you ain't doing that though.
yeah. So right now the top 5 picks. Bears are at number 1. Washington is at number 2. New England's at number 3. Arizona's at 4, and then the Giants are at 5. Now, what do the Bears do with the first pick? That's obviously a lot of questions have to be answered. Poles has to go and do his evaluations and see obviously what do I do now? If he's going to take a quarterback, which is probably going to be Caleb Williams because he's the first overall pick in the draft, they're more than likely going to find a way to trade Fields for whatever compensation they can get.
But do
Preferably,
you
you hope they
trade
get.
Fields beforehand, or do you trade him after that pick is done?
You trade him beforehand. You make it because that
Beforehand.
way you make it known to other teams. We're not open for sale. We're not doing business.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct.
We'll,
And
we'll
you
do
can get a
business with
first round.
Justin though.
You can get a first rounder for Fields.
Really?
I believe you can.
If the team, listen, I don't. I think the highest you can get for Fields is a high second round. If you get a first round pick for Fields, you do that deal automatically.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I love Fields, and I think he should come back. But if a team is like, we'll give you first round pick right now for Justin Fields,
We
this year's first
talked
round
about
pick.
you talked about teams that are desperate for quarterbacks
Yep.
that are willing to probably move up for that number 1 pick. If you are looking to unload Fields, just hey, okay, you want a quarterback? I tell you what, make me an offer for Fields.
Yeah, what's your best offer for Fields?
Not the number 1 pick overall. Since you're calling me about the number 1 pick, we're going to shift a little bit. Why don't you make me an offer for Fields? Because I'm keeping that number 1 pick.
Yeah.
Make me an offer for Fields.
Honestly,
Atlanta,
if I was Poles,
Atlanta.
I would ask the question, be like, all right, what's your compensation for the first pick? What's your compensation you would give me if I were to say give you Fields? And you'd see what would be a good offer that you would think you could
Bet
take.
you Atlanta would unload that number 1 pick for Fields.
Oh, Atlanta would be desperate to do that.
And then we would come off with 3 first round picks.
Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be very so obviously
what other teams, let's just say what other teams that are not in the top 10, if you're looking at the draft the way it is set up right now, what other teams that are beyond 10 that would be willing to move up to come
Las
get
Vegas, Raiders,
Mm-hmm.
Denver probably, because it looks like they're just absolutely done with Russell. I wouldn't trade him in division to Minnesota. New Orleans potentially could if they want to get off of Derek Carr. Pittsburgh maybe.
Yep. Look
You
at all
know,
these teams that might be willing to unload that first
Tampa
round.
Bay potentially.
Maybe.
You know,
because you got some teams that are actually on the cusp, and those are the teams you just mentioned. They're on the cusp of the playoffs to becoming contenders. And Fields could actually be. Now, keeping Fields could make us a contender too, depending on what we do with the first round pick. Now, you and I, we went over our theories as far as what we should do, But Fields is this whole thing with Fields is
it's gonna be an interesting topic to see
it's an interesting dichotomy with, do you keep him or do you trade him? And if you trade him, can you get a first rounder back?
I don't think you're gonna get a first round pick back for Fields. I think the highest you're gonna get is a second round.
Depends
And I
on
think
how
that's fine. A high second round is fine.
That's fine too. But a high pick,
I think that's a little bit. I think that's asking a little bit too much because feel like a team will be like, all right, then if you're just, we'll just freaking ask you how much you want for the first pick. Feel like that would just get more teams to hang up if you're demanding a first
Well,
round
but
pick
you
for
can, you know,
Fields.
come on. The worst you can hear is no. Ask for it anyway. I tell you what, you give me that first rounder, I'll give you Justin Fields.
I don't disagree. If a team's offering me a first round pick for Fields, I'm doing that 100% of the time.
Yeah. Now, if you're talking about just a second, I wouldn't do just a second.
Well, if it's a second with other picks added on to that, I'm fine. I'll do that deal too, potentially.
Well, it depends on who it is. I don't want a low second.
Yeah, yeah.
I want someone who's in, somewhere between 33 and 35.
Yeah.
One of them second rounders, not one of them, you know,
But
59.
what we did to the Steelers when we traded for Claypool.
Yeah.
So,
And me personally, what I would do, I would not trade him to the NFC. I'd keep him in the.
I'd probably trade him to an AFC team.
Trade him to an AFC team. Denver, Pittsburgh,
Las Vegas.
Jets, Vegas.
No, the Jets got Rodgers though.
They
so what?
Think
they just
they,
Rodgers.
They think they got Rodgers.
Okay.
I mean, what? He's gonna be a 40-year-old man coming off an Achilles injury.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, if Poles decides to keep Fields, well then, personally, I think the best thing to do is, and this is just my opinion, this is what we talked back and forth through text. I think the best potential thing is to trade that pick back and get as much draft capital as you can in return. But the fact that this term Caleb Williams gets his generational quarterback, he's the next Patrick Mahomes, which I think that talk needs to settle down a bit. Like, oh, he's a great player. But is he on the caliber of Patrick Mahomes? And I think I saw somebody said, "Oh, I would take Caleb Williams over Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and I forgot the third quarterback. I would take him over that right now." I'm like, you must be out of your damn mind.
Yeah, whoever that person is, they don't.
It was actually like a credentialed person that said that.
Don't even drug test them. Because the drug test is already positive. No, man, come on. No. I mean, and my problem is that if you do keep Fields, you have to load him with weapons.
Yep.
And for me, the best weapon in this draft, if you're going to use that number one pick, is Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, this guy, second generation football player, so he knows the league. He knows he knows how to prepare for a football game. I'm sorry. I would take this kid number one and have DJ Moore on one side, Marvin Harrison Jr. on the other, and then you got Cole Kmet right there in the slot or at the tight end position, and your weapons are set for the next 4 to 5 years.
And running out on time. We'll be back and we'll let my uncle continue his point.
Gotcha.
All right, we're back. You can continue your point you were talking about.
What was the point? I mean,
you're talking about how you would draft Marvin Harrison Jr. with the first pick.
Yeah, I would draft Marvin Harrison Jr. to increase the weapons around Justin Fields. It's clear that at that particular moment, you decide to keep Fields, you're in it for the long haul. You're in it for the long haul. I can't see any scenario where you keep the pick, keep Fields, and then separate yourself from Fields afterwards.
Yeah.
If you decide to keep Fields, do something with that number one pick and add a supreme talent. And I'm sorry, the only playmaker in this draft, for me, from where I sit, is Marvin Harrison Jr. The only one. Yeah, you mentioned a couple other wide receivers, but you used the adjective, they're good. They're you didn't use it, but what I got was out of the conversation is that these are serviceable wide receivers. Well, for me, Marvin Harrison Jr. is not serviceable. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the Pro Bowler. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think he's a Pro Bowler from day one. From
Now,
day one.
now, what I said in our conversation is what I would do is when you keep Fields, you just trade back. Now, looking at the draft positioning, you got obviously Bears at 1, Washington at 2, New England at 3, Arizona at 4. Arizona winning is actually big because we don't know what they do with Kyler Murray. Sounds like they're probably going to keep him. Now, obviously, people like, well, maybe they could give him another weapon, which is MHJ. But with the fact that they won, they're out of the top 3. And I don't think Washington's going to win another game, nor is New England going to win another game, which means you can either do business with New England or Washington and actually trade back and see if you can get a haul from one of those two teams, which will still put you in good enough position, a top 3 pick, to draft a Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, I also said Malik Neighbors from LSU, and I think his first name is Romeo Odunze from Washington. They're
Yeah.
also pretty damn good receivers too, coming out of college as well.
Harrison Jr.
Yeah, I know they're not him, but they're still really damn good receivers. I wouldn't be mad if you take him, and it's kind of that. It's still kind of the thing. Well, who knows what to say? They could end up developing into really good, top-notch Pro Bowl receivers.
And see, that was my point that I was trying to, make to you. It's that uncertainty. Is that uncertainty? Well, you got these teams and we could do this or we could do that or we could trade down. We can do that. All I'm saying is do one thing and one thing only. Draft Marvin Harrison Jr.
Now,
For me, there's no uncertainty in putting this dude on your roster. You put this dude on your roster, then I got to admit, the lanes that Justin Fields will have to run from will be immense. The lanes that you can't double anybody. You can't double commit. You wouldn't be able to double Harrison Jr. You wouldn't be able to double Moore. There's no doubling. There's no playing, let's just say, cover 4 just to keep an eye on the wideouts. You got to account for all 4 of these entities, meaning the 2 wideouts, Kmet and Fields.
Yeah. And again,
you got to account. There's no for that.
And who knows? Maybe we don't know. Poles. I feel like that would be out of his nature to draft a wide receiver that high, and usually wide receivers don't go that high, even if they're that dang good. Like, look at Jamar Chase. He was picked 5th in the draft. And that's not as high as like maybe 1 or 3 if the Bears even do trade back. I understand that.
The only reason why you would trade down is to save money. Because
I would trade back because
the 3rd pick does not make as much as the 1st. That part I get. I get the financial implications. But at the same time, and yeah, you probably would be able to get another pick out of the deal. And if you have any type of thinking, now me, given your analogy, I would not trade back that number 1 pick any further than 3. After that,
only
Arizona taking a wide out.
Yeah.
Arizona would take this kid if he's available.
Yeah.
If Bill Belichick is still the coach, dude got to get him a quarterback. Dude got to get.
I also take this narrative and the fact that since Caleb Williams is, people in the league keep saying Caleb Williams is going to be this next big generational quarterback. I'm convinced that there's going to be teams that will willingly give the Bears 3. If we thought the haul was big from last year, you're going to get a much bigger haul this year. If people are desperately wanting Caleb Williams, and honestly, at this point, I don't care where a team is coming up to try to do it. If they're offering you 3 or 4 first-round picks, you do it because, say, Fields flames out and he doesn't have a good following year. You can use one of those picks, trade up, because you have the capital to do that now. I understand. You got to get the wide receiver help, but, who knows what Poles does. Maybe he does draft MHJ in the draft. We also didn't account the fact that maybe he might just go the financial route. since there'll be cuts made to free up money. What if he signs one of these free agent wide receivers that are really good? Now look, like Mike Evans is available. Curtis Samuel is going to be a free agent after this season.
Yeah, but they're gonna command the kind of money that's gonna be insane. So I don't see Poles doing that.
I know, but
I don't
that's an
see
option.
Poles.
He goes, and maybe he's
What
like,
I
well,
do see, what I do see is the Bears separating themselves from Eddie Jackson and putting another safety back there. I can honestly see the Bears probably signing another cornerback opposite Jalen Johnson. I can see the
really,
Bears.
you
I can
really
see that. I can see that and moving Stevenson to the slot.
even with Kyler Gordon
I
there,
can see it. Huh?
even with Kyler Gordon there,
Yep. I can see that. I'm just saying I can see it. I'm not saying they'll do it. What the
ooh,
heck just happened?
the Chiefs almost fumbled a kickoff, and the Bengals almost recovered it.
No, well, it's the Chiefs. Nobody give a damn. Only your cousin cares. That's it.
All right,
That's it.
go on, go on.
That's it. I mean, I can see that. As far as free agents are concerned, the only thing I can honestly see is offensive line, defensive line, and cornerback. I don't honestly think they'll go out and sign a free agent wide receiver. I just don't think they're going to do that. Bears traditionally have never done that. Now, granted, Bears definitely never drafted wide receivers this high. I think the last time they did it was Kevin White, and he bombed.
Technically,
Yeah.
you can say Velus Jones was the last receiver, or Tyler Scott was the last receiver.
Well, I mean, first round.
Oh, okay, then yeah,
First round.
yeah.
First round. So, but you know, I'm just saying this because at some point you got to just start drafting can't miss kids at some point.
And we'll
I
see.
mean,
Yeah, I
you got
feel like we'll see. Ryan Poles is going to make his decision, and at the end of the day, we don't know what he's going to do with that first pick. We don't know if he's going to trade it back. Knowing Ryan Poles in his history, he's done it multiple times where he's traded back in the two drafts he's had. And I would be completely shocked if he doesn't do his due diligence and he doesn't ask teams, what's your asking price for this perk this year? And if
oh,
it's
I'm
like,
pretty sure he'll take all offers that come his way. I mean, he'd be a fool not to pick up the phone. He's got the number one pick overall, and then on top of it, he's got a second one.
yep.
So I mean,
I think he's gonna just trade back again. I just think he's gonna trade back if he keeps Fields. I think he would understand, oh, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a great talent, but I'm just gonna trade back and get more draft picks because the guy from the moment he got here to Chicago, he said he's gonna build the team through the draft. Now, obviously,
no,
he's gonna be smart
I
how he
agree.
does that.
I agree totally. The only thing is trading down, trading back is really risky when you have the contract situation of Justin Fields.
Yep.
So I mean, he's got one more year, his fourth year, and then you're going to go into his fifth year option at triple double at
If
triple
they
the
pick it up this offseason.
if they pick it up. So I mean, all of that trading back is risky if you're going to keep him. If that's the case, then just draft the damn quarterback and just draft the quarterback, reset the rookie clock, trade Fields.
Well, that's it for the first pick. Obviously, we'll talk about this again when it's addressed, whenever it gets addressed and everything, and we'll see. Now the last point is the fact that late last night, Ian Rappaport came out with a report of saying that it's expected that the Bears will retain Matt Eberflus in 2024.
Yeah.
Now, when I saw this, I was just like, what in the blue hell are they thinking?
I wasn't shocked given the way the Bears have been playing recently, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I will be shocked if Getsy is retained.
Oh, yeah.
Only reason I was thinking that, dude, the only reason why Flus would be retained if he agreed to get rid of Getsy.
Yeah. Getsy's got to go.
Getsy got the defense is playing lights out, and Getsy, for whatever reason, it seems like he's good at planning from week to week, but he just can't dial up a play on the dime when needed. When
Yep.
those 15, those first 15 plays just don't work, he has he ain't got nothing.
And then it's situational play calling. For example, like look at this game, for example. We're on the goal line. Now we finally run a touch push. We don't do this BS where we're doing a wildcat or we're having Cole Kmet come over, motion over and under center and everything.
And we're not going 5 wide and doing a quarterback draw.
And even then, I look at some of the play calls this game, like in this weather, I'm like, dude, why is Getsy just why does he have fields and shotguns 100% either shotgun or pistol formation? I'm like,
Yeah.
get this man under center. It's freaking snowing outside. Come on,
Yeah.
now.
And
who knows?
sometimes it's okay to play traditional football. Yep. 2 tight end, one running back, and just smash
or
them
a fullback. Add blasting game in there. And it's like he wants to freaking
I formation, fullback, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, and just blast them.
And I watch a lot of Bears podcasts on YouTube where they say, honestly, Justin Fields looks great when he's under center with I formation, because then you can play action off of that and do a bunch of stuff after that. But it's like Luke Getsy believes I can't do much of this, which makes me think like, what are you looking at Madden and you're thinking, oh, HB ISO? Are you just play action power? Like,
honestly, I don't think he knows what to do with Fields. I don't think he wants to run the ball. I think he wants to throw it a lot.
He wants to pass it.
That's just what I think.
Like even I was shocked. I'm like the first 2, even though the first 2 passes were completed passes, I'm like, why are we passing the first 2 downs? Just run the ball and establish it, please.
Now the scary part for me, and I had this conversation with someone a little bit earlier today, is if Getsy is retained,
you got to let go of Fields.
Yeah, you can't keep him. You can't keep him.
But even then, you're putting the freaking new quarterback you potentially draft, which is Caleb Williams, probably in jeopardy of being ruined too.
He's a similar kind of guy. So what do? You're going to try to bring in a quarterback that's more to Getsy's liking. Who out there that's probably more to Getsy's liking?
Probably Drake May.
Maybe.
Jeez Louise, that would be uproar in Chicago.
Or even better yet, trade down and, I hate to say it, sign Flacco. Sip the tea, which I think is what sip that tea.
Oh my God.
I know, right?
What?
Sip that tea, and sign Joe Flacco. He's a pocket passer who can read a defense.
Yeah, if we're talking crazy, maybe you see, hey, Jets, we'll trade you Justin Fields for Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, hell no. You think no Bears fan wouldn't want that?
Trust and believe, Getsy would be freaking nailing the hammer to do that immediately. He's like, get it done, please.
Probably. Let's get a quarterback who can read defenses and react quickly and think on his feet. Justin is not my kind of guy because he doesn't like to do things from the pocket. I'm not Justin's guy because I don't like to dial up plays, keeping a quarterback on the run. I want to dial up plays to keep my quarterback in the pocket.
Again, you look at one of the first drive they scored a touchdown on. Justin Fields made that happen more than the play call, because the play call in the touchdown pass, the play calls were like absolutely stupid. I'm like, what are we doing?
Correct. And this is not the first game that Getsy has done just these questionable calls, keeping Fields in the pocket.
Yep. And then obviously you go back to that Los Angeles Chargers game where obviously coaches and players, they always have their conversations with the broadcaster. And like Chris Collinsworth legitimately said in that game when Bagent was playing, I think Justin Fields should take some and learn some steps from Bagent. Who fed him that information? It's pretty obvious who fed him that information. You're not just going to openly say that on air. Yeah. A commentator's not going to say that on air unless a coach says, like, yeah,
correct.
Our starting quarterback can take some steps from this guy that is more of a better pocket passer than an athletic type of mobile quarterback like he
So
is.
I think, and for me personally, you can't keep Getsy.
Yeah, I think if
you keep Fields, you got to get rid of Getsy.
I said this in the video in my Eberflus expected comeback video that I never even uploaded. I said the number one thing this thing should confirm if Eberflus or needs to happen if you're bringing back Eberflus and Poles has this conversation with Eberflus at the end of the season, despite however the Green Bay game turns out, you have this conversation. Be like, look, we're open and we're willing to bring you back, despite all the BS that happened. Only thing I need from you is you need to get rid of your OC and get a new OC. If you don't, you're going to be shown the door right then and there.
And let's be honest. Since Allen Williams has been released, the defense has played very well.
Yep.
Very well to this particular moment, lights out.
Yep.
And that's Matt Eberflus. Let's just give him his credit.
Yeah.
But that said, he's got to get an OC.
Maybe he gives his boy Frank Wright another opportunity if Frank Wright wants to potentially come back. Guess Kellen Moore, maybe? I don't know. Eric Bieniemy, if he's still not getting head coaching opportunities. And that's kind of the only other thing that I don't.
It's really difficult to get an OC from another team, bring him on as an OC on this team, unless he's just flat out fired or released.
And I think it's also going to be hard to get a new OC because you're going to go into a year where, and this is the thing also too. If you bring, and I said this in my video that I didn't release, if you bring back Matt Eberflus, it's kind of in a way confirming you're bringing back Fields for year 4 in his tenure with the Chicago Bears. Correct. And they're now more than likely going to be tied together. What I mean by this is this. Now, obviously, you had the bad first year where the Bears finished 3-13 and they had the first pick. Now, to his credit, he doubled the wins for the Bears. And we went on record before the season saying if the Bears at least have 6 or 7 wins, they're taking a step in a right direction. We did say that. Now, obviously, looking from a game perspective, we don't like the way how they got to where they got to. But at the end of the day, the results show he doubled his win total. You upgrade your win from 3 to 7 now, that already puts you ahead of the 8 ball to potentially come back.
Correct.
You do that situation. So now, and I said this yesterday in my little unreleased video. Now you're kind of like the Detroit Lions. Look at Detroit. Dan Campbell didn't have a really good first year. He sucks. You know, people wanted him out of town like we did. He improved on that last season where, all right, they didn't make the playoffs. They were on the cusp of the playoffs, but they played better football. They sucked early on in the season. They rattled off some wins to make them look good. And then they put themselves in potential playoff position to try to make the playoffs, just like the Bears are, which guess what? Lo and behold, with the Lions, they played the Green Bay Packers week 18, even though they knew they weren't going to make the playoffs. The Bears are kind of in the same shoes.
Yeah.
What did they do? What did the Lions do this year? They not only clinched their division, the NFC North, they're now going to the playoffs. If I'm Ryan Poles, you got to look at that perspective. Well, you look at the NFC North picture. The Packers, they're not that damn good. If anything, they're mid. Vikings, I'm not worried about the Vikings, whatever they do. They got no quarterbacks. Whether they bring back Kirk Cousins or go after another quarterback, I'm not worried about no Minnesota Vikings. I'm never worried about the Minnesota Vikings, even when the Bears are bad. And then Detroit. The last 2 years, we've owned those guys. Yeah, they've had our number the last 2 years. They beat us 2 times. They swept us last year, and they got the comeback from behind victory. But to be honest, they can't beat us. So that means I'm not even worried, especially if Justin Fields is under center. They can't figure him out. It doesn't matter what he does. They can't figure him out.
Yeah.
So going into next year, definitely you need to make the playoffs next year. Fields and Eberflus has to make the playoffs next year. And you can make the argument, this is the year where, okay, we take the North and we never give it back.
Well, I mean, and that sounds great. But I think next year, I mean,
the pressure's on. The pressure's on.
The defensive side of the ball is solid. You probably just have to,
At a defensive coordinator.
Shore up some holes, get a free safety, because obviously Eddie Jackson has worn his welcome out. Um, maybe
Get another pass rusher.
you got to get another pass rusher. That's
You got to get
correct.
a 3 technique unless you're really
Yep,
confident in Gervon Dexter, who's been playing great football, is
yep,
your 3 technique.
yep. So then that way you can balance out and you know, you balance out your defensive line, but we're only talking like maybe 2 or 3 players there.
Yep.
You got to get an OC. I mean, you got to get one. You can't. I mean, now I can't see them. Let's just say if the enemy gets fired,
Yep.
which is the possibility in Washington. I think they're gonna gut that entire staff with the new ownership.
Yep.
But other than that, if you can't get an OC that's just sitting at home somewhere, I mean, you got to pull somebody's again.
I feel like if they let Luke Getzey's go, the first person Eberflus is probably going to call if he comes back is probably Frank Wright, because Frank Wright gave him the opportunity to be the DC in Indianapolis. Let me do you a favor and let you be the OC here in Chicago.
Can Frank Wright be innovative enough?
That is true.
And
2, you also have to take his word, because I feel like with Eberflus, if you're going to bring Frank Wright along, you're going to be like, all right, what's your thoughts on Fields? Do you think we can win with him? And if Frank Wright says,
everybody lies in an interview.
Yeah. Well, if that's his friend, he's going to be honest with him. If he says
that's the case, but the main thing is your friend wants to be employed. Your friend will be like, yeah,
I'll say
I've always wanted to coach a kid like him, and I can do this and I can do. But then again, when he gets there, he's just like, okay, shit. I'm an old school kind of guy. I'm not innovative enough so I got to figure out something. Now I haven't got the job.
Well, I think
if he was innovative, he could have found something to do with Bryce Young.
I think it's pretty obvious through all of his interviews he didn't want Bryce Young. It was kind of more the ownership forced Bryce Young on him. He wanted CJ Stroud.
Right. But at the same time, though, it's like if you are a really good offensive mind, you can figure out what to do.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I can't blame him for that. He had a lack of talent around Bryce Young.
I get you there, but I look at it like this: Kevin Stefanski. I mean, he's had so many injuries in Cleveland. Man, I mean, it seemed like everybody was dropping off that team. But offensively, he was still dialing up the right plays based on the staff that he had at hand. And look, they got 11 wins out the deal. They brought
Dorian Thompson Robinson when he had some games. He was kind of.
They brought in a quarterback who ain't played in 10 years.
That's true, but he's a veteran compared to a rookie quarterback.
Well, but at the same time, he ain't played in 10 years. Now, granted, offensive, being a quarterback, I'm not going to sit on this platform and say, well, you know what? Hey, man, it's like riding a bike. You never really forget. No, man. I mean, to me, it's just it's some coaching has to be involved.
Yeah.
Even if you have a 38, 39-year-old quarterback like the Cleveland Browns do. I mean, they signed Flacco, but at the same time, he adjusted his thinking to the point where, you know what, I got to keep this guy in the pocket. If I can't keep him in the pocket, then we screwed. I was winning with the running quarterback and Deshaun Watson. Now I got to win with the pocket pass.
Yeah.
I'm good because I'm a great offensive mind. Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, well, yeah, another thing that's kind of confirms if Eberflus comes back next year, this confirms to me because we speculated here that maybe the McCaskies forced Eberflus on him because Bill Polian was there and he's an indie guy. If they bring back Matt Eberflus, this can 100% confirms to me that no, Ryan Poles 100% shows
back Bill Polian. Just don't bring back Bill Polian. I mean,
well, I think they're going to leave Ryan Poles do whatever he wants if they make a new coaching search.
Well, hopefully they let Poles do the searching.
Yeah.
as opposed to like bringing in consultants. And let's keep in mind the one thing we've never talked about that we kind of touched on just a few seconds ago, that with all of this conversation about what to do with the number one pick, what to do with the coaching staff, what to do with polls. I just don't envy his job, that kind of stuff. We still got the McCaskies as the ownership group. And with that being said, you can expect something knuckleheadish. I don't want to say stupid, but I guess since I done said it, I might as well just stick with it. You can expect something stupid. Because as he said, I don't know football. You don't know football, let the football people handle it. And don't rear your ugly nose into it. We still got the McCaskies we got to deal with. Yeah. Now, that being said, do you honestly think the McCaskies are going to want to sign Justin Fields at $30+ million, $35+ million for 4-5 years?
Well, I feel like that's going to be more of a polls decision right there. I feel like he's not going to have any impact. I feel like, I'm being honest, I feel like they're not going to have impact. He's going to probably go up to them and say, hey, listen, we can win with this guy. And George, he's probably going to be just like, all right, fine, do what you want.
You would have had Fields for 5 years. The best time to win a Super Bowl is when that quarterback is on his rookie clock. I think there's only been how many?
The only reason why I push back on that point is because you got to look at what he was walked into. He walked into a deadbeat head coach in Matt Nagy with a dead roster. Then they tore the roster down, only to build it up now. And now next year needs to be the playoff year.
But again, you still have the McCaskies.
I don't think
you still have the McCaskies.
I understand the fear. I don't know if they're gonna get involved like that. They ain't like freaking geez Louise. They ain't like my Angels with Artie Moreno. That's an owner that doesn't give a crap about money. He literally let Ohtani walk away to go to the Dodgers, and Ohtani would have given you the same exact deal with the Angels if he.
We're also talking about you're also talking about a team that signed Albert Pujols for crazy money, and he did very little for them.
Yep. That's an owner that's hands on. I think the McCaskies get hands on sometimes, but not as much.
McCaskies historically has not shelled out that kind of money for a quarterback.
Because they haven't had a quarterback like that of caliber.
And why do you think that is?
Because they keep having these bad quarterbacks that they keep drafting that don't develop properly. Because they don't do the right thing.
They don't do the right thing. So I'm going to simply say, and I'm going to stand and just simply say, I think for that reason and that reason alone, they're going to reset that rookie clock. Because if they do,
well, you're setting up Caleb Williams to fail, and we'll be here 4 years again.
Correct. They got 2 years, basically. Fields' 4th year, and then accept it, and then go ahead and extend them that 5th year at 2020.
Oh, so you think they're going to pick up the 5th year option and then draft a quarterback?
No, I think they're already going to have a quarterback in place.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I just don't think they're going to go through all of that. I don't think they're going to go through all of that and shell out that kind of money. I honestly think they're going to reset the clock.
I don't think they have that much say over.
Take that number 1 pick, draft a quarterback, and then find something to do with Fields.
Before we get back to this Eberflus talk, I don't think they're gonna be that involved in the football decision. I really don't. I think they'll turn it over to polls. If anything, they'll let Kevin Warren be like, all right, here's what Kevin Warren will give his insight, and then he'll just turn it to polls. I feel like Kevin Warren, he was respected enough to get the president role to maybe tell George, hey, let Ryan do his job.
Okay.
Let's focus on the stadium.
I agree with you there. But at the same time, though, Kevin Warren's position is the business side of the football.
I feel like he'll get involved if he needs to get involved from the football side.
And to sign Fields, to go through that process, free agent process, to potentially sign Fields for $35+ million, when it's already a proven fact that once you sign that quarterback to that crazy amount of money, it's really difficult to win a Super Bowl. It really is because of the financial um, backlash that you're going to have on the other positions. Kansas City is a perfect example. Now, granted, they got a Super Bowl after Mahomes signed that big contract, but look at what they had to do. Got rid of Hill.
Well,
They got
they just didn't
after
want to pay him, to be honest.
they couldn't pay him.
I feel like they could have. They just
Couldn't
didn't
pay.
want to.
They couldn't pay him. They had already shelled out money for him and Kelsey.
Yeah, but I feel like it was more of he wanted out because they weren't going to pay him.
No, they weren't going to pay him because one, they gave Mahomes that contract. Once they gave Mahomes that contract, it made Hill's re-signing a done deal. It wasn't going to happen. And that's the same thing that'll happen in Chicago.
I
Once you
think you
give
can't live with that. If you got an elite quarterback,
$1 it's going to be a trickle down effect.
I feel
Now,
I know
bad
mhm.
down effect, we don't know.
I know we have had this conversation in the past, and we're gonna get
Yeah,
back to the Eberflus stuff, but I think that's just stupid thinking right there. It's like, all right, reset the quarterback club because we have an elite quarterback in place. We got to pay him.
you
Like,
calling me stupid? Why are you calling me
I
stupid?
think the point is stupid.
It's such disrespect.
I think the point is stupid. Like, I'm gonna pay an elite quarterback despite what
But
happens. You got, and
it
who's to say
feels
that they
elite.
defer some money? Maybe you can
But
find it.
but but it's Fields elite.
No, he's not elite.
Then why pay him?
That's what I'm talking about. Maybe you can get a nice, and maybe he
You don't
knows that. And who knows? Maybe he goes to negotiation table. He's like, listen, I'll take a team friendly deal that still gets me paid. Maybe guaranteed money in it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if he
we will
hits.
see.
Back to
We will,
Eberflus.
but still, we're still talking about upwards of 35 million.
No, I don't think.
Upwards
I don't.
35
I
million.
think Fields would be honest with his play. He probably. I think the highest will go is maybe 30 mil. That's it.
Maybe.
All right. Before we close out today, Eberflus. I personally, my stance is this. I just let Eberflus go. I think there's too much to hold against him. He's by far the Bears' worst coach in terms of winning percentage, and I think he upgraded his record to like 10-20.
Yeah, but I'll say this. Um Eberflus has shown some sort of worth to warrant 2024. His staff, on the other hand, for me, has not. Now, polls, we're gonna need a punt returner, we're gonna need a kick returner. I don't like Travis Thomas or whatever his name is. I do not like him at all. Returning punts. You gotta get a returner. You gotta get an OC. The only way you can actually truly gauge Eberflus in his entirety, get another OC because it's clear the OC you got right now is not the best OC for this quarterback. Just get rid of him. I mean, I don't have a problem with Flus coming back because it appears he does have the respect of the player, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Bringing in another head coach, bringing in another DC, and then bringing in another offensive coordinator, to me, is detrimental to what this defense has done this year.
Do you think he has the respect of the offensive players as well?
Now, that's a really good question. I'm pretty sure he has respect of the locker room. I'll say that. Um, does he have respect of the offensive side of the ball to the point whereas he knows what to do with him? No. I think they have respect for him from one man to another. But as a football man who understands offensive football, then I would probably say no, he does not have that respect. That's why
Yeah,
you got to get a quality offensive coordinator.
I agree. I agree with that. I think if they bring him back, you got to get him off. You have to fire
You got
Getsy
to.
and get a better offensive coordinator.
You got to.
Personally, I think
If you bring all of them back, that's messed up.
you just said
I mean,
lose.
all of them. I don't even know who the special teams coach is, and I'm still saying get rid of him too.
Hightower, he hasn't been much of an issue.
No, he hasn't been much of an issue. He hasn't been a positive or a negative. I
And
haven't I haven't seen anything positive from special teams. I haven't seen anything negative from special teams.
I think that's more the players, and that's more I think recency bias with Bayless.
Well, again, that's why you said, hey, we need a kick returner, we need a punt returner, we need some players. You need a playmaker that's going to get that football and do something. The two we got back there right now just ain't cutting it. Velus Jones Jr., yeah, it's time to separate ourselves from him. And number 15, I just
Trent
don't
Taylor.
like. I don't like him at all.
Yeah.
I don't even see his worth. But the only reason why I think he's back is because they just ain't got nobody else.
Yeah, I just get rid of Eberflus because I think there's too much against him. The three blown leads, they're all just terrible collapses. The in-game coaching situation in terms of decision making as a head coach, we talked about it earlier about the kicking the field goal, and then you also have to factor in the fact that he hired two guys in his coaching staff that are no longer here because they violated HR policies.
Correct.
And that just shows me, well, are you choosing good leaders, good faithful men that because you're going to get a lot of young guys up in here?
Correct.
Are you teaching these young men to be good young men? Because
Correct.
if these people are getting fired for HR violations, clearly
Correct.
they're not good people. So
and you know what? The only thing I'd probably say that's really risky because you're really risking what the defense has done this year in its entirety.
Yeah.
So we will see. But if he is retained, the only thing I'm hoping for right now is they just give Getsy his outright release.
Yeah. He's got to go. I think that's the only confirmed thing.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing. You got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's basically all we had to say for today. Pretty loaded episode of the Bears recap show. Anyways, we'll be back for Green Bay Packers week. I think if you want Eberflus to come back, he's got to win that game. He's got to win that game.
Yep. All right. It's 10 minutes to midnight here, so I'm gonna go celebrate Happy New Year, smoke my cigar, and do some fireworks and stuff like that. So Happy New Year, nephew.
You too.
I'm looking to a wonderful 2024, and much love to you.
All right, guys. Catch you guys in the next video. Until then, guys, stay safe out there. Have a great New Year. Until then, guys, we'll see you guys next week for Packers week. Peace.